Hey, it's Latasha. Latasha who? I am Latasha, TV writer and producer, bringing you another new story. This time, I am talking about love. This story follows a Brooklyn pistol who's evaluating her journey of love between 1 out of 3 suitors and reviewing it on her podcast using the guidance of historical women from the past, such as Maya Angelou, Bell Hooks, Toni Morrison, to define a new way for today's women to go about love. But she is to discover that the cause and cure from her detachment of love is due to the estranged relationship with her mother, and therefore the title, She Loves Me Not. I want to say something brilliant, poignant, and timeless. This is for the lovers. If you are a fan of Love Jones, if you loved Barry Jenkins' Moonlight, that yearning but never quite getting or obtaining, yeah, we're playing right in there. And I've got a phenomenal team. I wrote it, my guy here, Tristan Taylor, directed it, my girl here, Brittany Janae, is gonna shoot it, and my guy here, Ade, is gonna produce it. Now, this is the moment where you guys have the power where you can get involved. So when you join this campaign, you will get a customized portrait of roses featuring your beautiful face. Or if you're a lover of film, Tristan is going to design a director's book with all of his show notes, shot lists, inspos, and of course, exclusive photos and videos from the cast and crew. So this is it. Join the She Loves Me Not crowdfunding campaign today. Pledge and make sure you follow us on all of our social media pages that you can find on Instagram, Facebook, and X, Twitter. So make sure you guys get involved today, and I'll see you on the internet.
Well, I am here. Let me get my stuff right. Hello, everyone. Hi, you know, we got it. The love room, y'all. Welcome. Please feel free to put some love in the comments. Be active. We have an incredible guest tonight. I am so excited. Welcome to my channel. Welcome to my YouTube channel. This is the JustLatasha channel, and this is the She Loves Me Not, a live chat about love 4-part series in promotion of my short film, She Loves Me Not. Couldn't you tell? Make sure you guys like this video. Please subscribe to the channel. And of course, visit us on Seed and Spark. I'm not going to take up too much time. Let me see who we got here because we have such a great conversation getting ready to happen tonight, y'all. It's going to be full. You hear me? Full. Okay, just to introduce myself. I am Latasha. I am from New York City. I've been an independent content creator for about 14 years. Yeah, long time, okay? And I moved to LA a year and a half ago because I was developing an original TV concept with Netflix. And of course, what called me here even sooner than I planned on, but so perfectly placed, Mara Brock Akil's The Writers Colony Residency. And in my stories, I usually create emotionally complex characters that are driven to arrive to renewed self-discovery. And that brings us to She Loves Me Not, the story that I developed in Mara's The Writers Colony. It is a dramatic rom-com about examining love, utilizing the guidance of Black women writers from the past to examine how we all approach love today. And in saying that, I think of Toni Morrison's Sula, a tale that examines how society curated the womanhood of 2 childhood girlfriends. One was to cherish love by way of traditional marriage, and the other was to cherish self-love, liberation, self-discovery. I think of Audre Lorde's poem From the House of Yemaya, a daughter who examines the void between she and her mother because there's a woman that she is to become versus the woman that her mother is encouraging her to become. And of course, in my story, She Loves Me Not, I'm using the quotes by the brilliant, the legendary Bell Hooks, okay, from the book All About Love, which critically analyzes love. And last but not least, this is dedicated, the story, the universe of She Loves Me Not is dedicated to my late friend, Aisha K. Faines, especially tonight's wonderful interview live chat is dedicated to her. She educated millions of women in how to empower themselves in life, career, and love through her brand, which is still live, womenlovepower.com. Now, it's going to be a night. Okay, y'all. I gotta do the intro right. I gotta do the intro right. We are welcoming tonight a television producer, a screenwriter, director, the youngest African American female showrunner and executive producer to create a sitcom. We're talking about record breaking. Hello, record breaking. Her storytelling arsenal includes Your Fave, Girlfriends, The Game, Being Mary Jane, Love Is, and so much more. And of course, her latest upcoming series, adapted from Judy Blume's tale about teenage love, called Forever, coming soon to Netflix. It looks like we all in the house up here. I'm just saying that's a light brag, okay? Please welcome the very beloved legend, okay? A master storyteller of love, Miss Mara Brock Akil. Hello.
Hi, that's
Hey,
such a lovely introduction. Thank you, Latasha. So good to see you.
so good to see you. I'm so happy to have you on here tonight. Thank you so much for joining me. How are you feeling? You just
I'm
wrapped production. You had such a busy summer. How are you feeling right now?
I'm feeling amazing. I am feeling restored. You know that production I love it too, but it's a different rigor. It's a different stamina on your body, mind, soul. And so I think in post you can sort of let this sort of you can let a little steam out, you know. So I'm feeling restored.
I love that. And you often speak to us about healing the self spiritually, emotionally, to get ready for the marathon that is creating, that is writing. So I totally understand and see your process. So tonight is a conversation about love, about your approach and storytelling, about love in your work. So the first question I would like to ask you tonight, more personal, as a child, what would you say were some of the examples of love that inspired you to your personal approach to how you love? That could be media, that could be family, any examples you've seen of love.
I think, you know, I know everyone loves girlfriends, and I think just really observing. I'm always around Black women, you know, growing up, whether you're hanging, you know, your mother's dragging you along, or you just start to pay attention to those conversations they would have at the kitchen table, your own friendships. I was very much drawn to how women support each other, but also the challenges of that, you know, as well. But I would say the first love would be the women in my life. The three pillars are my mother, my grandmother, and my aunt. That their love was very consistent and sustainable. I also think a lot of my body of work also is around what I want to also see. You know, I think that even before meeting my husband and getting married, I wanted to see certain images, you know what I'm saying, that were sometimes not there in my immediate,
Mhm.
you know, and so that you can sort of imagine your world. I really believe that not only on the page, but in life. I think that's how one manifests. So I would say that the consistent nature of my of the women around me, and the observation of, but I think as a writer too, Latasha, I just look, you know, I can get inspired by seeing, you know, an old couple cross the street together. You know what I'm saying? I don't need what's right underneath me to spark my interest. I love listening. I love being by myself a lot, especially in restaurants and whatnot, because it allows me to be an observer.
Mhm.
As soon as I go outside in the world is my inspiration. So I can see anything, and then my mind kind of decides what is happening with that couple, or, you know, mixed with likely what's on my mind in terms of society, or where we are in relationship. um
Yeah, I would love to dive in, for the time that we got you here. I would love to dive into the worlds that you've created because Girlfriends just celebrated her 24th birthday. She is grown, 8 seasons. She out there drinking, partying. Go ahead,
okay, she
girlfriends.
is.
She's
She's
grown now.
closing clubs down. Okay,
Yes, 4
are we still
a.m.
going to the
Well,
club?
LA is at 2
Are,
a.m., but who's counting?
right? Are y'all still going to the club outside? What's happening?
So Girlfriends is a classic series about women exploring friendship and love. And so I definitely wanted to talk about the pilot because I thought it was so interesting. We watched Joan, who was a character that valued marriage, versus Maya, who was a character that valued wealth. And both had a love interest that would have satisfied both of those desires, but at the end they chose each other. So I wanted to ask you, especially in a culture that can sometimes encourage women to put romantic love on this hierarchy, what did you want to say about setting the tone for friendship versus romantic love?
Well, I just think, we talked about this even in the writer's column. I think getting through life, you need community. And I think women have had the chosen friendships, and how we navigate these big dreams. And more specifically, they're big in nature, for anybody. And then what are the specific details and challenges and joys being a Black woman pursuing these larger than life dreams? American Dream is in the center of my work all the time. And it's this love-hate relationship one would have with it, because we're constantly wanting to be, to attain and to aspire to things, but there's challenges on that road. And at the end of the day, how are you going to get there? You're going to get there likely with, you need a community. And, LA also represents how a lot of people come here for their dream, you included, right? We come here. I came back home for the dream. I was in the Midwest, when I decided to pursue screenwriting as a career, and I had to come back to LA. So LA also represents sort of the, those of us who migrate back, we're dreamers. And so where is that community that's going to anchor you into a very, very challenging, career. I mean, but a very fruitful one, you know what I'm saying? Because I think even when you're broke and creating, there's a joy in it. And so but it can get exhausting when you're like, but I still got to pay I got to pay this rent. And then not only that, you want to enjoy that, all of the, you want to enjoy life. You don't want to just struggle through it. So I think that LA, to me, I think to get through it, you're likely not to have your family here. Often people are transplants, and they've got to find that community and really sort of underline the idea of women friendships. They're not perfect. I feel like, I've heard a lot of the criticism like, oh, they're toxic. It's funny because around your generation and younger, created language for what we just dealt with, if that makes sense. Like that's just a way to sort of show progress, that we are starting to reflect and examine our behaviors. And now we have this language for it, one that is inclusive of, toxicity or trauma bonds or all these sort of things. But at the end of the day, okay, do you still want friendship, you still want romance, you still want your dreams, and you're trying to figure it out together. And I just think that core group of friends was a really great way to sort of anchor a show about women who wanted it all and felt as though they just, deserved it and were willing to work for it.
Yeah, and Girlfriends was so special because it really pushed sexual boundaries that we hadn't seen for Black women on television. In doing my research, preparing for this incredible interview for tonight, I saw that you said in an interview that in creating Girlfriends, at the time, Black women in media sort of had these two expressions. They were the asexual judge or the sexually liberated archetype, which we've come to know as the whore versus the Madonna. It's like that sexual structure that, encourages women to carry shame around sex. And more interestingly, in the writer's room, that the sexual jokes with men were like a hit versus the sexual jokes with women that were sort of like, okay, we got to flag a little bit. So I wanted to know, what was your point of view in how women can take up more space, Black women can take up more space and demand more pleasure in sex, romance, and love?
It was exactly that. I just think it was, that part of my, and thus the character's humanity, was I was having sex at the age the characters were having sex. And I didn't want, it's not to say that you don't have those tough moments, it's like you stumble through some moments, but that isn't the overarching idea about my sexuality. My sexuality is a part of my humanity, and trying to figure it out. I know Joan always had that 3-month rule, as a way as a way to sort of symbolize, chastity and an older, what is considered, what's the new word? Demure.
Demure, cute, curtsy, demure.
So anyway, my point just being that, Black women, I wanted to take the shame off of us. And I think the only way to take the shame off of us is to talk about it, is to express it, is to have an opinion about it, to do it in healthy situations, or if they weren't in healthy situations, how do we unpack that and figure that out, And so, yeah, it was really about me saying, guys, I don't want to be trapped by the shame. And I'm not, and by the way, those are somebody else's opinions of me. That's not my opinion of myself. I feel like, oftentimes in Black imagery, there has been a request, sometimes by mostly by Black audiences, to only sort of show the perfection of a character. And I think, and I've said this too before, that I think positive images are just as damaging as negative images, in that they are asking me not to have the full breadth of my humanity, which is, we talk about, there's the light side of me and there's a shadow side. And how do I negotiate both? How do I grow and evolve from that understanding and self-awareness? And more than likely, I'm going to do it in a community which was going to give me help me get to a healthy sense of self if I'm choosing the right surroundings. Right. And so that's pretty much it. I feel like I also wanted, I just didn't want the other generations also to have to be so heavy about it. I mean, I think for me growing up, there was a lot of trying to figure out what was appropriate, what was inappropriate, what was going to get you married, not married, all of that kind of stuff. So let's talk about it.
Let's talk about it. And in fact, people are talking about it right now. Trini Boy said, love the portrayal of different kinds of Black women. Joan, Maya, Toni, and Lynn were vastly different and brought beautiful dynamics to TV that I had not seen in a long time. It was also written in the late 90s, early 2000s, and there are a lot of things not tolerated now.
Like what's not tolerated now?
Trini Boy, would you mind explaining further in the chat so we can go ahead and figure that out? But I love that you spoke about, the good and the bad. Often women are encouraged to be good girls. And I think it's quite healthy to dive into a little toxic, discover what your bad a little bit is, which brings me to your next masterpiece, Being Mary Jane. The series follows Mary Jane Paul, a successful TV anchor who carries the weight of her TV show and family's well-being on her shoulders, all while desiring love, marriage, and a child. And compared to Girlfriends, this Girlfriends, which felt like fun, and exploratory, and this one had a bit more pressure to it, this sort of idea about running out of time. And what conversation, I like, in your interview, you say you're having a conversation with the audience and Black women. What conversation were you having with Black women who may have been feeling that pressure of like, gotta get married, gotta have a child, gotta hit these sort of milestones in love?
What was interesting when I was writing Girlfriends, there was a point in which I thought Joan wouldn't really say this to the girlfriends, but because the show was set up in which you had to go sit around the dinner table or the cafe table and share your different, issues so that we can go explore them. I realized I couldn't pack that into the Joan character or into the Girlfriend's character. So what I started doing was I was starting to take notes and I would just put it to the side. And this character started visiting me. So Being Mary Jane chose me, actually. And I think, and when I was sort of realizing what is it that I can't say in Girlfriends, which I said a lot at this point already, we're talking about season 6. What is it that I'm trying to say? And I think to your point about time, the conversation I was having is that I believe that at that time, what is this early turn of the century, or really turn of the millennium, excuse me, that women are liars. That's what I was saying. I was like, women are liars, but women had to lie, in my opinion, for their survival. But we were at a tipping point in which if we continued the lies, we were going to choke on our lies. And so I wanted the Being Mary Jane character to sort of be like this bull in a china shop, to sort of get it all out, air it all out. I thought it was interesting. It was also a fun thing to be like a woman who had a lot to say about others, lived in a glass house, those who live in, throw rocks shouldn't be, that kind of whatever that phrasing is. And then
Live in glass houses shouldn't throw stones.
yeah, there you go. Glass house shouldn't throw stones. She was throwing a lot of them. I mean, Mary Jane, and they needed to ricochet back to her. They did need to come back in her house for her to deal with a lot.
Was she a Virgo by chance? She sounds a lot like me. I'd be like, oh, shouldn't have said that. My bad. I'm a mess as well.
Yeah. Yes, but no, Mary Jane did not. It took her a minute to admit that. But also the idea that she was so busy telling everybody else's business news, right? And that the real story was inside of herself. And I think that's what I wanted to lead the conversation. Like, what are these things that are not really serving us? One of them specifically was, Black women thinking like, well, if I don't do it, then it's not going to get done right. Mary Jane was very much that. Like, if I don't take care of my parents, if I don't do this, if I don't do that, then it's not going to get done. And first of all, whether it be true that you load the dishwasher better than everybody else is killing you. And that's not true. If you step out of the way, then people will be able to figure it out. But because she felt, and she was put on a pedestal, and she kept herself up on that pedestal. I wanted us to look at what are these ideas of ourselves as Black women that are a lot of times complimentary, but are they complimentary to a point where they've imprisoned us from our truer selves?
And hold that thought, Mara. We'll be right back. I have a little commercial, y'all, because we are here with and for reason. Okay. This live chat is to support the Seed and Spark campaign for She Loves Me Not. As you guys can see, we are 87% funded to tell this love story. Right now, we are talking to an incredible Hollywood legend who is masterful on storytelling about love. And I'm just trying to follow in the footsteps. Okay. She opened the doors for writers like myself to be able to tell these kind of stories, but it takes you guys, the audience, to help fund independent creators so we can see these stories come to life. And that's what we're here doing tonight. We have really cool gifts, really cool prizes, especially if you're a lover of film, or if you just want to support some Black women, or if you like to pay homage to the love stories of the Black past as well. Find us on Seed and Spark, She Loves Me Not. We're going to get back to this conversation. Okay. Speaking of love, I had to do my little commercial break. Don't mind me.
You did good.
We are going to go into the next show, Love Is, which is the romantic drama set in 1990s LA against the backdrop of Black Hollywood, inspired by the real love story between Mara and her husband, Salim. You and your husband have been noted in Hollywood as this power couple, often creating impactful cultural stories about love together. So, you guys have shared so much of your personal selves in that story, as I am doing in She Loves Me Not. And so I wanted to know, when you are creating with your love, what is your joint approach in creating that story?
Well, in this case, Salim and I have always approached the art I coined it, we have one vision, many voices, and that each project deserves a focus. And so in this particular case, it was something that I wanted to do, and I was supported by him. At the time, he was making Black Lightning. And so at that time he was focused on that, and I supported that, and I was focused on Love Is, and he supported that. And the support really at that time, given that we're both really great prolific producers, it was more in the spirit of, hey, read the script. Here's what's going on with this challenge. What do you think? Who's a better hire for that? So that's what I mean in the producing kind of things, really helping to craft, just check those drafts, right, in the early stages of development. That said,
go ahead.
Yeah, I think that for me, Love Is was using our love story. People love to hear about our love story. And I asked myself the question, can I offer our love story as a way to not just be like, oh, look at our love story, but what could it be a reflective, not only of the times in which I was telling it, but that it was resonant to what was currently, where the current audience was today. And one, I feel like going back to that time period, there was so many levels of love in that story, loves of friendship as you're built. Again, going back to Writers Colony, those early days of me writing in this business, we got through it together. I met a lot of the people Gina Prince Bythewood, Felicia Henderson, they came out of the writer's room. Those friendships were lasting as a result of us working literally like long periods of time. But it was also another time to really show a really beautiful era that was built during the 90s. It was beautiful to be on a set, um, it's funny that I think it was episode 2 of Love Is where we really show the Marvin show or a taping. A lot happens in those tapings. I mean, in fact, I remember Karen Gist, who has gone on to run shows and whatnot and create them. She was sitting in the studio audience and figured out where the writers were and introduced herself. So it was just like this, it was a heaven and a haven for us. It was like the HBCU experience of Hollywood. And I felt like I wanted to show so many layers of love. The first love story being 2 people going after their dreams and 2 people at different points in their journey of their dream. And the willingness to sort of pull somebody in and support someone in love. And you realize when you pull someone into your life, how you can affect and grow each other. Right. And then also, but it was really a fun time to sort of reflect that time about what we were doing collectively in the Word of Love, and then where we were, and to use the catalyst of our love story to really sort of explore really where love still can be, and sort of like in those areas of miscommunication, in those areas of how to untangle yourself from your past in order to move forward, and we both don't start from scratch typically. You know what I'm saying? There's both Nuri and Yasir had past loves that affected them as they came into these relationships. And that's always very interesting to me, is like, who are you when you meet? There's this beautiful romantic moment, but to sustain a relationship, you're going to have to start unpacking some things about yourself and getting, I just find like it's very rare often, especially, that we were pausing to like, let me heal thyself before I go back out dating. No, we were like,
that's me. I'm like, let me take a minute, because that was a rough one. Who was I back there? I want to make sure that I'm presenting myself in. First of all, I want to clean up the residue. Somebody said, Felicia in the chat said the word residue. I like it. I want to clean up the residue from that mess that I just went through before I kind of move forward a bit.
But your generation, here's what's interesting. Your generation has come to that. Mm-hmm. And I think it's the age of information where more people are able to share their opinions and not just be sort of like my generation. We had 3 channels of news.
I remember Channel 3, yes.
We had certain magazines. No, seriously. I mean, we had limited publication. We had limited. So our idea, and then what was happening in our own homes and environments and communities. But that's what informed us in a lot of ways. A lot was music. If you listen to a lot of the music, it's filled with all kinds of scenarios around love and relationship. But the interesting thing is, I find that it was less about where you guys are, where it had less therapy to it, if it makes sense. It had less, you just was like, okay, well, that relationship fucked me up. let me
go read a book about it, and I'll be back in the game in no time. Because
I don't even know if you read a book. You just went to work, you kept it moving, you went to the club, you talked about it with your girlfriends, and you're like, oh shit, girl. I mean,
you're trying to just, it's a matter of just sort of keeping it moving, and then using what you had at the time to just go ahead and progress to move forward.
Now you guys have this whole other element to your life that was not a part of my existence. And I think, and of course, not just Mara's existence, is everyone's, but as an observer of the times, I'm just saying that was not in our behavior overarchingly, right? People were not thinking about therapy overarchingly. You know what I'm saying? I'm not to say that people didn't, but that was not a part of the culture. That was not a part of the conversation.
It wasn't a normalized mainstream.
Well, you got a lot of your therapy in your community with your girlfriends, with your mothers, with the women in your life, or with your, if you're so lucky. I was not lucky to have strong male figures in my life. And so, maybe if I had a daddy who was present, I could have those kind of conversations and whatnot. Otherwise, I'm having them with my brother, or I'm having them with men that I went to school with, and you're just kind of like palling around. But that's how we were learning, a little Essence magazine.
There's a line in the script of She Loves Me Not, and it's like, girl, love is not a battlefield, it's a playground. If you fall down, scrape your knee, put a Band-Aid on, and woman the fuck up. I've read my script. I could recite the whole thing, but woman the fuck up, slap a Band-Aid on. We don't have to hypertherapize and do the all work. Just get out there, have some fun. Sometimes it sucks, sometimes it works. I know we are coming to a close here, so I definitely did not want to leave without talking about your upcoming series on Netflix, the reimagination of the 1975 Judy Blume novel that follows the epic love story of two Black teens exploring their journey of being each other's capital F first in 2018 LA. You described it as the idea of your first love being with you forever. And of course, the show is titled such as, and I got to thank you, Mara, because look at me on set with the Shadow program, the Story 27 production Shadow program. I was a select, the first, okay? And I had such an incredible day as a TV writer, knowing that, there's somewhere I want to go. There's a destination of sorts. Seeing the production, a Netflix production on that scale, and seeing your work firsthand and watching Tembi Banks direct all day, like, it was such a phenomenal experience. So I thank you so much. And I ate all y'all food, y'all. I ate so good that day.
That's a part of the culture for sure. That's how we get through it.
So good. So in creating this series, I think love gets a bit heavy. Actually, I'm going to skip that question. Here's what I really want to ask you.
Okay.
For the teen couple featured in Forever, their parents are heavily involved with the way that they're able to romantically engage one another. And so as a mother, where do you find yourself leaning in or giving space for your children's journey in love? And are there any lessons that you would like them to carry forward in their relationships?
Wow. I think that was a bigger question than I anticipated.
You like that?
You got to talk to me about being a mother. For me, this story was about not only observing my own children, but really the state of what Black children, and more specifically, children who've come out of the PWI environment and experience. And one of the things that, if I'm going to be really frank, that breaks my heart is that I don't think overarchingly in the specificity, hear me out, but really specific, when we're these parents who trying to give your children the best, and we are from an age in which the best was, a lot of private white institutions. And what you realize is, though there's some really, really good, a lot of great aspects to it, there's an isolation that happens with your children. And one of the things that they miss out on to experience, to be mirrored with, is like little things like crushes and someone liking you back. And you realize the isolation of themselves, how limiting it is for them to experience what I believe their classmates were. And I'm not saying that they were 100% either. I'm not naive to know that everyone's having that experience, but by virtue of, there's a lot of, I think, young Black children, specifically in these environments, are they missing those that social participation of just someone liking someone and someone also liking you, whether they're the same person or not, that to feel that on yourself, and, let alone what the friendship groups are like. But in the romantic department, I was concerned that our Black children were not having an opportunity to meet and see each other. The second layer to that is, as a parent, parenting at a time when it really does feel like when you realize that your education or how much money you have or what is not going to save you if you Black in this country, where it felt like there was an open season on us and our children, and my son who likes to wear hoodies, all of that kind of catastrophic fear. And I realized that, and I've observed it not only in myself, but in other parents, that we are so overprotective of our children because of the nature of knowing, even the 24-hour news cycle, it's just all the fear is right there all the time. Mm-hmm. And the fear also is a real fear. It's like, we're not making this up, and like I said, these families who thought, oh, if we just get them in the right schools and the right address, our kids will be fine. I realized that is not true, obviously. And what extra layer of catastrophic parenting are we putting on children at a time when they are supposed to be exploring, figuring out who they are? There's like a narrow window for them to exist. And that was something that was interesting to me as we talk about first. I think also for Black boys, raising Black boys, before you can talk about all of the happy romantic ideas of what love is, because we're talking about sexuality, we're now talking about how he can be seen as violent just because he has a penis and he's Black. And so you have to start talking about rape before you can talk about love. You have to talk about things. And so that what we're robbing our children of, and though we don't get that heavy in it, the perspective of that is what is true and why we parent the way we do, we overprotect the way we do. And I question how much are we squeezing out of their opportunity to discover a lot on their own. And then again, I already mentioned before, the environment's becoming very, very, I remember when I was going to school, I went to public school, I would say it was about 30% Black. I had a bunch of boyfriends. And what I mean by that is you can have one boyfriend for a day.
You added language, Mara. That's called being outside.
Well, no, I'm not. No, you can call it that. I'm talking about real, and we're laughing, but I'm really trying to talk about something that is the difference I feel between generations, not to be like our generations, but no, I'm just saying generationally, what we have not been able to figure out, I am a little concerned with. And I often try to alchemize my concerns into my art. And so one of the things that I wanted to provide for forever is I wanted to have in the canon an experience of two Black children, two Black YA children coming together, that their love is, even though their love is complicated, they need each other in order to sort of figure out who they are. Because I actually believe the only forever love there ever really is self-love. And so I think in the right relationship, it leads you back to your better self. And they were able to negotiate that while they're in this sort of time in which they have to consider what race does to them, and this time in which they have to consider all this catastrophic parenting at the same time. But that's have the experience of love.
Yes. And
and
two
sex.
Things. Yes.
and it's not weaponized, and it's not horrible, and it's lovely, and it's sweet, and it is healthy, one could say.
Yeah. And in the pleasure of getting to know you for this past year and being a part of the community you've made at the Writers Colony, you constantly let us know how much your spirituality means to you, and constantly encouraging us to hear ourselves, to know ourselves. And I think that's one of the healthiest ways that we can engage love, explore it, have those fun times, learn our hard lessons, is the knowing of self, which can inform so much. And number two, which is definitely a theme that I explore in She Loves Me Not, it's a matter of parents sort of teaching us more defensive approaches to life, so where love as sort of this abundant, healthy, beautiful item is not as explored. We sort of think of that as secondary because there's so much more horrors to our race, our gender, our safety, and even the war that can happen in romance and in love. And so I think it's poignant that you've said that. As we have come to a close, Mara, you've told a million stories about love that will last a lifetime, through cultures and beyond, through generations. And as you've quoted as well, love is a ride and you've got to be willing to take it. So my final question for you tonight, what is the largest discovery you've had about love? And are there any new lessons for you on the horizon?
Ooh, you have some good questions, Latasha. Shoot, I should have drank some more tea. What is the new discovery about love? Is that the question?
Mm-hmm. What's the largest discovery, and are there any new lessons?
Is there a larger? I knew when I had my children that there's a whole other portal of like capacity. It kind of, you hear about it, oh yeah, you love your kids, but you can literally feel it in your body. I feel like that is a bridge. I think the romantic love opens you up to want to share your life. I feel like it almost is the first stage. And I feel like the mothering part of my experience with love, like I just said, it portal to another place. But I think the portal is to yourself. Like, I really do believe that really all of those feelings of romantic love, mothering love, friendship love is a way to drive us to understanding who we are and why we are here. I feel my biggest love lately, and I don't know if it's as lately because I think I've been here for a minute, is how to lock in with God's plan on your life and really hear it and understand it and find joy and delight in doing it. I mean, even Writers Colony, I know we talk about it, that was a God whisper. That was loving myself and loving my mission here, my purpose here, and hear that and act on it. Even though it seemed crazy to do, to self-invest and, try to help others to actually do what you've been raised to do, but actually do it. It's not theory anymore. It's not a theory. You're living your purpose in your life. And it is, that is my biggest love. That is sort of like the biggest love. And I feel like all of these other things that we fight in society, like your identity, your preference, the labeling that it's all on us, I think are distractions from those God whispers to get here and act on what we're supposed to be doing here to really raise the vibration overall of love, right? I think the fun part of sex and romance and all of that and kissing and hugging and cuddling, God, yes, I hope everybody has that in their life because it's delicious. But I think it's supposed to be a part of the meal, not the meal, right? It's the thing that's nourishing you to get to who you really are and why you're really here. And I think lastly, I want to add, just because we're talking about creativity, I think the closest dance you can do, or one of the best love affairs is to create, is to make. Now, I'm not even talking about career wise. Though you can make a career creating, I think making something, whether it's a meal or you crochet or you write a story or you film a story or you paint a painting or you write a book or you make a pot, or you know what I'm saying, you do something, you make something, is one of the best love stories, because that's when, to me, you are co-creating with God. You are imagining and reproducing something. An idea is now a tangible item, and someone like this. This is one of my favorite. And you've seen me drink out of this all the time. I love this mug. But
I think I stole it a few times too.
But whoever this, it's a cup. We know we've seen a cup before, right? But it's like the way they did it, the color, the pattern, the this, the that. Even like my wallpaper, like these are things that I'm attracted to. That's like knowing yourself. It's that whoever made that, it just makes me happy. And it inspires me to stay in this chair and try to write other stories that can perhaps inspire people, whether that they follow in my footsteps or they follow their own footsteps of inspiration, is what I think the ultimate love story is about. And I hope you get some kisses and cuddling on the way. You know what I'm saying? As a part of that fuel to that.
And that's what we're doing right here on She Loves Me Now. We getting Black folks to start kissing in the mouth again. Okay.
Black people don't kiss in the mouth, Latasha.
Black folks kissing in the mouth. That's my whole thing.
But what do you mean? Wait a minute. What do you mean they don't kiss in the mouth anymore?
No, they absolutely do. But that soft, sensual romance, we just want to see more of it. That's it. I'm just making a story where we can see more of it. And I can't get out of here without you. Well, speaking of the God whisper, let me start here. I was in New York. I felt things crumbling around me, and I heard it was time to go to LA. And I was just like, it wasn't solidified. It was still a gelatinous idea. But when the Writers Colony called, I was like, oh, God's for real. You really? Okay. And I got out of there in 2 weeks. My lease was up. I wasn't even unpacked. I had a fully furnished apartment, and I was like, called up some friends, like, I got to get out of here. I lived with my crazy uncle for a week. But the journey was worth it. I was totally supposed to be in the writers' colony. The community you provided, the network that has expanded for us, the projects that we got to just sit down and create in such a beautiful space. It was integral to my journey in LA. It was my first stop, and I'm so grateful. And I created, I'm so grateful. So I do want to take a moment to say thank you.
Yes, it's like, to your point, you create community, you get inspired, you hit the ground, and it's lovely to see where you are making a film with your colleagues, with your friends. That's what this is about. That's loving yourself enough to act on your highest good. That's love.
Yes. And it led me to create this project, which I'm making with my phenomenal team. Thank you so much to my director, Tristan Taylor Hill. Thank you to my DP, Brittany Janae, and of course, my angel producer, Ade Johnson, who is doing so much work to make this happen. Thank you so much for being here tonight, Mara, and talking about your extensive history of work. I'm so appreciative.
Many blessings. I hope you get to 100% and enjoy shooting it and making it and being very present for it. We need it.
Yes. Shout out to Rayma. Rayma's in my cohort and she's here. What up, Rayma? Okay. And Tristan's here too. All right, you guys, we're going to sign out. Thank you again to Mara. Thank you to everyone watching live, and subscribe to the channel. Get into Seed and Spark. The link is in the description box and all over. And that's it, y'all. We are out. Thank y'all so much. All right. Bye.